As we get older, we grow, just like plant dragons. Alright, y'all. As much as I wish that these guys were playable, obviously it's a joke. They're super banned, probably never coming back, so let's just get rid of those guys. So, I've always liked plants. And dragons is something I think everybody likes. They got a lot of support. So I liked plant dragon decks even before dragon rulers, like when you used to use like, just a lot of the basic plant engine with debris dragons. Like a lot of stuff the dragon rulers utilized in their plant dragon deck too. But, you know, like I just always liked those kind of flow of things and being able to synchro a lot. And the Link era changed a lot of things, but I wanted to revisit plant dragons and make a very fun version. This is a very rogue, just like for deck, but it also actually can do some nice plays every now and then. So let's get into it. And the best thing I can tell you guys is this is no guard dragon. I did experiment with the guard dragons in here for a while, and as much as they're usable, they seemed more of an extension than actually what I mainly wanted to go for. So let's go ahead. So of course, the OG, 3 Lone Fire Blossom. He can be tributed to summon any plant out of your deck. I haven't found the space to run any of those heavy-hitting plants with like good effects. You might want to maybe make room for like a good one in testing with this deck, but so far I just like the 2 Lone Fire Blossoms. I run 2 Orphis Scorpio and 2 Darlington Cobra. If you guys know me from past deck profiles, I do run one of in this deck that sometimes I like to run 2 of, but Darlington Cobra is one that I like to have the 2 because I hate when you open it and it's your only one. And you don't need 3 Orphis Scorpio because you got Lone Fire Blossom essentially as another copy of himself. But that's it because I am running Brilliant Fusion, and that's it for the Preta plants. Moving on to your MVP plant of the deck, who is probably one of the best monsters you want to get out of the deck, is going to be Evil Thorn. Now he's going to be your main 1-for-1 target, and there is a spell that I run in this deck that helps if you open him in hand. So those of you who don't know what this card does is you contribute this card to inflict 300 damage to your opponent, and if you do, special summon up to 2 Evil Thorn from your deck in attack position, but they can't activate their effects. Main reason that's good is because if you 1-for-1 for him, it's a free link too, without having to normal summon. So really nice card, definitely one of the main cards you hope doesn't get ashed. But yeah, we love Evil Thorn. Going on with our level 1s, the 1 Glow Up Bulb and the 1 Spore. Obviously, them being the ones per duel, you know, you can still splash them back in other ways, like resummoning with Monster Born and stuff like that sometimes in really desperate locations, you know, or times. But the nice thing about them is that if you do get them off from your hand originally and then get them back off in the graveyard, you can kind of synchro climb a little bit. You know, it's like the old version of synchro climbing. So definitely 2 of those guys, and that is it for all of our plants. Moving on to the small little bit of dragons I run in here. Pretty much the only dragons I'm running are dragons that help get extra stuff on board or them themselves get extras on board. Like I said before, I did try the guard dragons and to be, you know, red MD and do all that fancy stuff, but it made the plants kind of useless, and the plants kind of helped get a lot of the stuff going more so than the dragons. So I am running 2 White Rose Dragon. I was experimenting with this at 3, but it's just a little cloggy, so he can be special summoned from your hand if you control a plant or dragon tuner. And then if he's sent to the graveyard from the Synchro, you can send a level 4 or higher plant monster from your deck to your graveyard. You're never really going to do that in this deck, because I'm not sure we even have any 4 or higher plants, which I don't believe we do. But if you found a little tech, you could make that work. The next dragon is going to be our Crusadia Draco, just 1. He's just a free summon to a zone of link points to. He's a dragon, level 4, which is nice for a lot of your synchro plays, and it just helps a lot. Then the next is a Blast from the Past, which is Debris Dragon. He's just nice to get another, like, one of your plant tuners on board, even though they can't be used together. Like, the very few things you have in here that have 500 or less attack, because he does negate their effects. And he has the restriction of not being able to synchro with other monsters that are, like, level 4 and stuff, so... and only for a dragon, but I still like Debris Dragon right now. Then we're going to go ahead with the 1 Destrudo. Same thing, really easy to summon. Takes a little bit more, you know, paying half your life points, but he can come in clutch a lot, and he's a nice card to have in hand to send away for stuff. Then moving on is going to be Dark Worm with the Donut. So the reason why I run the Dark Worm and the Donut is because they're actually some of the biggest combo facilitators in this deck, and I'll show you a little something you can do with them at the end. And that's it for your dragons. I know Gate Zero's not a dragon, but he just plays into that whole thing. Going into the last monsters of the deck, I run 1 Psychic Wielder. He is Earth, which is important for helping with certain things, even though he's not going to be your primary way to make Naturia Beast, but he is a level 3, he is a tuner, and he's easy to summon, and I do run the E-Tellion here. Then for the little engine to go along with like Brilliant Fusion, which I also run in here, of course we have the 1 Garnet, because, you know, you need a Gem Knight, and he's Earth, which I like as well, in case you do brick him in your hand, which really sucks, but that's why versus Darlington Cobra, I didn't want to put 2 of both of them in this deck, so just the 1 Garnet. Then you're going to go ahead and run your Trick Clown and Damage Juggler. This is just for your light targets for your Seraph Knight. And with that, of course, I want to run 2 Hat Tricker because they're searchable with the Damage Juggler. And the reason Hat Tricker is nice is because he's also a level 4 Earth to help with the Glow Up Bloom. And he's also very easy to summon. There just has to be 2 or more monsters on the field. So that's it for our monsters, and they're pretty simple and plain of why you run them. They all resummon themselves really easy and all that. Alright guys, moving on to the spells. So the first spell I run is 2 Seed of Deception. So what this does is special summons a level 2 or lower plant monster from your hand. You don't have that many level 2 or lower plants in here, but the reason this is nice is because if you don't open 1 for 1, but you open the Evil Thorn in your hand, you don't really want to have to normal summon him, but you do want to be able to get his effect off. And this is really nice to do that. You know, you just special him from your hand with this. And then this can also be used on your Glow Up Bulb or Spore, letting you use them once on field and then again summon them from the graveyard. So I like it at 2. Next up, 3 Allure of Darkness. You do have a lot of dark monsters in this deck. I was teching a lot of other. There was a point where this deck was a 50 card deck when I did run the Guard Dragons and I ran a lot more draw and dumping capability. But just 3 Allure of Darkness. 1 Emergency Teleport for your Psychic Wielder. 1 Foolish Burial to help you get that Dark Worm to the graveyard. 1 for 1, which is definitely the best spell you want to see opening up. 1 Monster Reborn. The 1 Sad Brilliant Fusion. And then to round off your spells, the 2 Terraforming, 3 Dragon's Ravine. And I do put this at 42, so this is an option for you guys. But I also run 2 Dark World Dealings. These could easily be Dragon Shrines because your Dark Worm is pretty important to the combos. But I just didn't really feel the need for it. And honestly, I just wanted a little bit more drawing and dumping power. Like opening Spore or Glow Up Bulb in my hand sometimes really just sucked. And so that's why I have the 2 dealings in here, but now that I'm realizing Dark Worm is a pretty important dump in this deck, those might turn into Dragon Shines fairly soon. So, let's get the extra deck out. The extra deck is going through a lot of different changes. We've done a lot of different things, me and some of the guys here at YuGiBOOM, to tweak this and work on this, but so far what I've gotten to right now is working out pretty well. So, you're going to run 1 Link Karibo. Just because you have some level 1s and Link Karibo is nice to have out sometimes. 1 Wee Witch because you do have a lot of darks and sometimes you just need an easy Link too, and you won't always have like the combo of the right stuff. Aroma Seraphie Jasmine, she's actually probably one of the best links in your deck because she can tribute a monster she points to and special summon a plant from your deck in defense position, and that's really important, and that's where the Dark Worm comes into handy. So, and then we run 2 Link 4s, which is going to be your Borolo Dragon because he's really easy to make, especially if you can get to that Brilliant Fusion play, and then 1 Saryuja because hand resets are nice in any deck. Next up, for a couple 1-ofs, we got 1 Exceed, which is Abyss Dweller, just to help this deck be a little bit more annoying, and then of course the 1 Seraph Knight for the 1 Fusion. For the Synchros, this is also what it's open up to you guys if you find you know, better options, but I still run the 1 Naturia Beast because you're going to be negating spells is a lot more like widespread you know, beneficial than negating the traps are. I run 1 Stardust Charge Warrior just because I do sometimes just need to Synchro climb up to something, and although Barkion is in this deck, he's something you definitely could take out because not many people run very many traps right now. I personally just keep him in this deck because I like Barkion a lot. And yeah, I even have a mat of him. 1 Black Rose Dragon because not only can you actually you know, make level 7s really easy, you can actually use Black Rose's other effect in this deck that a lot of people forget about, which is you can banish a plant from your graveyard and then make something go to attack position and then reduce its attack to 0. And that can be really helpful sometimes. And then to go with the big boy on the mat, we run 1 Crystal Wing because, like I said, you can sometimes Synchro climb, and you can use a Synchro and a tuner to make them. He's still a very annoying monster. 1 Omega because 8s are very easy to make, and I still like Omega's like really annoying just effect. Savage Dragon, who's probably the best level 8 Synchro in the game right now in my opinion. And then 1 Trishula because Trishula is Trishula, and she's really freaking strong and powerful. And that's my personal choice of Synchros. Options to opt out are definitely going to be your 6s if you want to run more like power, like 6s that you think are beneficial. But I do see you can make almost any level of Synchro sometimes with this deck besides the lower ones, so it's up to you guys. Alright guys, so just to show you a little quick like main thing you like to do in this deck, if you can open any way to dump your Dark Worm to the graveyard and 1-for-1, it's pretty broken. I mean, obviously it's pretty hard to get that, so that's why you have cards like Seed to Destruction in case you do open a way to dump Dark Worm, but you also open your Evil Thorn in the hand. But let's say you have something to dump your Supreme King Dragon to the grave. You obviously would do that first so you could summon him with his own effect, and then you'd search this to your hand, which is important because you need extra fodder in your hand, and you'd have extra cards in your hand too to help facilitate this. So obviously if they're more extending monsters, this play could go on further, but you definitely need at least something, 1 or 2 extra cards in hand to dump for your 1-for-1 and for whatever, you know, if you had Dragon's Ravine versus your Foolish Burial, or if you choose to run Dragon Shrine. So after you would summon your Supreme King and you get your Donut, you would then 1-for-1 for your Evil Thorn and then use his effect to get 2 more Evil Thorns out the deck. At this point, you're going to link your 2 Evil Thorns for your Jasmine, and you got to make sure she's pointing at your Dark Worm. So then you contribute your Dark Worm and not care about him, and at that point you just get a Lone Fire out, and you can blow out all 3 Lone Fires from your deck, but pretty much the ultimate goal is to get them out to your Orphis Scorpio, because when he's normal or special summon, you guys know you can discard a monster from your hand to the graveyard, which is going to be your Donut, and then you can summon another Predaplant from the deck, which is going to be your Darlington Cobra, and then Darlington Cobra is going to search you your Brilliant Fusion. So, and you know, that's pretty standard. At that point, you're going to Brilliant. Most likely the light monster you're going to want to send at that point is going to be your Damage Juggler, and then of course you send your Gem Knight Garnet, just so you can banish the Damage Juggler to get the Hat Tricker, because you want to have an Earth monster on board, so if you choose to Saryuja and try to fix your hand and stuff, you want to get the Glow Up Bulb. Because if, let's say you do get to the point where you have a Glow Up Bulb in your hand, or you can get a Glow Up Bulb out, like if you have extra ways to dump to the graveyard, that's going to help you make the right, you know, Synchro. But even if you can't like get to the Glow Up Bulb, you still have Saryuja with just this, and mind you, you'd still have the Seraph Knight on board, and you would also have you know, potentially another monster in hand that you can still normal summon. But even if you can't get the Seraph Knight, it still sets you up for Saryuja with a Hat Tricker. But like I said, there's plenty of times where I've been fortunate with my draws and I've already had a Glow Up Bulb, and then because of that I can just make a Borreload and a Beast. And for an old school plant version, it's really nice to just sit with some sort of annoyance and protection, and then obviously the more extenders you draw, you can do a lot more with this deck. But that's just something I really like, is using the Dark Worm and the Jasmine to get out your Lone Fire and just get to the Orphis Scorpio as quick as possible. And that's another reason why I don't really run Orphis Scorpio at 3, because I have so many ways to get him out. You could also find yourself maining Called by the Graves in this deck, because obviously a lot of this stuff that gets these combos started is ashable, but nobody takes that into consideration when showcasing combos anyways. So up to here at this point in the combo, I still haven't found where the best option is to go. Like I said, it's pretty niche to rely on getting the perfect draws off of Saryuja, but this still sets you up for potential for like a Borreload and some extra things depending on what you had in your hand. And mind you, I did this without taking into consideration what other extra cards we might have in our hand. But hopefully this has been helpful for you guys, and with this little smart start of the combo, you guys can take the Plant Dragons to a whole new level. If you think I'm dumb and Guard Dragons should be in this deck, let me know in the comments section below. Please let us know about your plant decks. It's one of my favorite things in Yu-Gi-Oh! So if you're making a really good plant deck and you think it's worthy of us making a profile on, let us know and we'll shout you out.